Mark Zuckerberg is having a really bad time right now. Facebook is dying. Not only is it losing popularity with young people and becoming a place only for mom and dads to argue over politics, but Apple completely wrecked Facebook's biggest moneymaker by adding that Ask App Not to Track button. This left a really big multi-billion-dollar dent in their ads business. Zuckerberg's personal wealth has also taken a massive hit. You know how much money Warren Buffett has? Yeah, that's how much money Zuckerberg lost since the start of 2022, and it's all because of the metaverse. See, Zuckerberg is no dum-dum. He saw the writing on the wall that Facebook's time is almost up, which is why he's been dumping billions into his visionary project, the metaverse. $36 billion to be precise, and he expects to invest another $10 to $15 billion more every single year.
Looking good.
Okay, no, not really.
But even after spending all this money on the metaverse, he's got nothing to show for it. The metaverse has become the world's biggest money pit. Is this the end of Zuckerberg and Meta? Well, get this. Guess what the average lifespan of the 500 biggest, most successful corporations in America is? How long do you think these mega corporations last? It's not 100 years, it's not 50 years, it's not even 25 years. It's 21 years. Yes, the average mega corporation in America lasts only 21 years before getting knocked out of the top 500 list. And that lifespan is only getting shorter and shorter. And given that Facebook is now 18 years old, we very well could be witnessing the end of Zuckerberg's reign. And the metaverse might just be the last nail in his coffin. Stay dangerous, subscribe for more, and let's get into it. On this channel, we try our best to break through all the bias and fluff you see in mainstream media to try to get closer to the truth. But quite frankly, we can't cover every single story out there, which is why you gotta check out Ground News. Ground News is the world's first news comparison platform, where every single day Ground News goes through 60,000 news articles from over 50,000 different sources. Then they take all these different pieces and merge them into a single story that gives you a variety of perspectives all in one single place. That way you can see how different news outlets are framing the same story, you can compare headlines, and Ground News even gives you a visual breakdown of the news sources for a story to see just how biased the coverage for a story is. You can customize your own feed, and they even have a section called My News Bias, where it tracks how many articles you read, where you're getting your news from, where the stories you read land on the political spectrum, and a ton of other cool data. Ground News has been a game changer for me. It saves me a ton of energy and gives me perspective on current events that I would have never had before. I highly recommend you try out for free by going to ground.news/JakeTran or by subscribing to them to get access to all the features we went over here. That's ground.news/JakeTran with the link below. Thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this video.
Mark Zuckerberg has had a problem. Even though Facebook has been a massive success, it still isn't a core part of the internet. Far from it, actually. If you think of the internet as a superhighway, Google and Apple own the roads and cars. But Facebook? Facebook is more like a stop on the highway. Controlling a single stop on the highway is not as valuable as controlling the roads and the cars themselves. And on top of that, the stop on the highway that is Facebook is not as popular as it once was. Today, most of us view it as a place reserved only for our parents. By the time Facebook came into existence, the opportunity to control something like a mainstream web browser or phones had faded. Google had already cemented their throne with Android and Chrome, and Apple with their iPhones and iOS ecosystem. And it's not like Zuckerberg isn't aware of this. He's tried to carve out a piece of the pie for himself, creating his own Facebook phone back in 2013, but to no avail. Mark Zuckerberg has had to accept the fact that he missed the boat, and now there's nothing he can do about it. With Facebook on the decline, he knew if he didn't try something new, his reign would soon be over. And that's when the light bulb went off. Zuckerberg noticed that every 15 years or so, a new technology emerges that changes everything. From personal computers to the old Motorola brick phones to the internet to smartphones, each one of these phases was more and more immersive than the last. And the next phase of immersion? According to Zuckerberg, it's virtual reality and augmented reality.
That you need to have a technology that delivers this feeling of presence, right? The sense that you're actually right there with another person and all the different sensations that come with that.
After all, imagine a world where you could connect your brain to a computer and be teleported to a seamless virtual reality that feels exactly like the real thing. Except in this world, all your problems go away. You can live whatever life you want. You can be whatever you want without any effort. You can live out your wildest fantasies, and you wouldn't be limited by the shackles of your human body. Given how many people already try to escape the real world with social media, it's sad to say that almost everyone would sign up for something like this in a heartbeat. This is the next phase of technology that Zuckerberg wants total control over: the metaverse. And he's been scheming this for a while, which is why he bought out Oculus VR in 2014. But in 2021, Zuckerberg made it official and announced that Facebook would be completely rebranded to Meta. His expectation is that in 10 years or so, people are going to be living in the metaverse more than they do in the real world. And according to him, they're even going to like it better than the real world. And this time, Mark is doing everything in his power to make sure that his company is the one with the monopoly over the hardware and the software. The only problem is, Mark just might be a little bit too early. After throwing $36 billion and an ungodly amount of man-hours at the problem, Zuckerberg's metaverse is lackluster to say the least. All he has to show for it is a bunch of ancient-looking graphics, buggy games, and subpar-looking avatars with no legs. And even on their own app store, their metaverse app called Horizon Worlds only has a 2-star rating. To be fair, they have come up with some good innovations, like being able to type a text message with simple hand motions, or ways to create extremely photorealistic avatars. But it's far from enough to dig Zuckerberg out of the hole he's dug. Zuckerberg's own employees hate the metaverse so much that he has to force them to use it. And a study of volunteers using the metaverse for work for just 1 week was full of reports of motion sickness, anxiety, and poor productivity. Some people even dropped out after just 2 hours of trying, and investors are not impressed. Zuckerberg announced the rebrand to Meta in October of 2021. 1 year later, his stock is down over 70%. That's a drop of over $700 billion since the change. And very recently, the company had to fire over 11,000 employees to stop the financial bleed. Of course, just because they're struggling right now and everyone is giving them hate, doesn't mean the metaverse won't be a thing one day. Mark just might run out of money and support before his vision of the metaverse becomes a reality. There's an old saying, quote, "You can always spot the pioneers by the arrows in their backs," end quote. But if Mark Zuckerberg does succeed, things would not look good for the rest of us. Again, people spending more of their time in the metaverse than in actual reality will probably be true someday, no matter how sad that may be. The problem is, if one single tech giant like Meta controls both the hardware and the software for the metaverse, we're in big trouble. Think about it. The internet is already the backbone of the world economy. It's how we bank, how we sell goods, sometimes it's even how governments meet to write laws. We've already seen what Apple has been willing to do to shake down companies on the App Store. And they're not even a real monopoly. But the metaverse? The metaverse would be like that, but for everything you do every day. Your home computing system? Need access to the metaverse to use it. Digital products you bought there like avatar clothes, music, and digital art? You gotta buy it through the metaverse. Work remotely? You need access to the metaverse to do your job. And this isn't an exaggeration. Meta is already planning to charge up to 50% fees for content created and sold through the metaverse, which means that anyone who creates and sells in this virtual space gets less than half of the money their content made. No wonder Zuckerberg wants the metaverse to be the one place everyone uses to connect. No wonder he predicts the metaverse will be the home to a new massive economy of digital art and content creation. If his company gets half of all earnings across the entire world's digital space, it could be the wealthiest monopoly in human history, re-solidifying Zuckerberg's throne on the world stage. But it doesn't stop at just high fees. A metaverse controlled by one tech giant would be much darker than that. If it's true that one day we'll spend more time on the metaverse than in real life, then the institution that controls that reality, that sets the rules, that tracks your each and every move, that monitors each and every transaction, that taxes you for every action you take, will be more powerful, more all-encompassing than any government before it. Not only would they be able to do obvious stuff like have social credit scores, but they would be able to do scary stuff, like track your every facial expression through the headsets. The term metaverse was actually first used in a science fiction novel called Snow Crash, and is in similar stories like Ready Player One. It's the kind of story where the real world is so ruined and miserable that nobody wants to live in it, so they just put on their VR headsets and live in a virtual universe that's basically run by mafia-style tech monopolies. When Zuckerberg first bought Oculus in 2014, he made the dystopian science fiction bestseller Ready Player One required reading. If you thought Facebook was evil, it is nothing compared to China's forced organ harvesting business. We would cover this in a public video, but talking about forcibly removing the organs of prisoners to sell to wealthy foreigners is a little too grotesque, and will definitely get demonetized. So we've released it as a private documentary, uncensored, available right now to members of this channel. All you have to do to watch it is hit that join button below. Once you join, you'll get access to this and other documentaries that teach you about how the world works, but are a bit too spicy to be covered on YouTube. Members love these documentaries, and you will too. Plus, there's a refund policy too, unlike most YouTube memberships. So if you join and you don't think it's worth it, email us within your first month of joining for the first time, and we will personally refund you for your first month. After your first month, there is no refund. So scroll down and click that join button now.